You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.
Today we are here in Radio Mayapur. My name is Gangadas, and we are very, very fortunate today. It's a very auspicious day. There are many things happening today. It's Vasanta Panchami, which is a day as the spring. It's the beginning of the spring in India. In India, there are 6 seasons. So the deity looks very beautiful, all yellow. Plus, it's also Valentine Day. So if you love somebody, please don't forget to send them flowers. And also is a very beautiful day in Mayapur and very peaceful. And today we are very, very fortunate to have with us Kaustubha Prabhu, who is born in USA, Indiana. He studied in New York, and he came in contact with the devotee in 1987. His father is from Italy. Grandfather from Italy. Yeah, so he has some Italian blood in his vein, and that's why Italian like Italian pizza and all these things. So we are very fortunate because he's doing also together with Raghunath a very important preaching program, which is Wisdom of the Sages, which has been viewed by millions of people, I should say.
I don't know, millions.
Okay, let's say thousands. But this is a new way of preaching, because the way we got into preaching was through Sankirtan, book distribution, prasad distribution, food for life, whatever. But now as the technology is advancing and everything is changing, so Srila Prabhupada said, you should task your brain how to think, how to deliver the message of Lord Chaitanya. And I think these two guys, these two people, these two, my friend, they figure out something which I could never think about it, of preaching through the internet. And you would think, I will listen to this, but there are thousands of people interested in knowing about the wisdom of the sages, which is written in the page of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And they are decoding that, and they are giving this message to everybody who don't know anything about devotion. They may be not even interested in devotion, but the thing is that this message is so appealing to everybody that people get hooked. So welcome, Kaustubha, to our podcast.
It's an honor.
It's a great pleasure to have you with us today. And so tell us a little bit about before you joined. I don't know if you were also in a rock group or in a punk.
But so you interviewed Raghunath
yes,
recently. So the scene that he was in, even I was part of that scene, which we called the New York hardcore scene, hardcore punk rock.
Punk rock.
Yeah. And so from when I was very young, I was into that. I'm about 15 years old or so.
But you were also playing instrument or singing?
No, not really.
You were just listening to the music?
Yeah, listening, but it was a very, we call it underground. It was not many people knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was always something happening, always bands playing. But it was more than just it was a music scene, but it was kind of like a street scene too. It was kind of like in the neighborhood, all the kids hung out and had crazy adventures.
But I think your message was different from the other punks.
Raghunath's message was different.
Okay.
See, if to get into, when I got into it in the early 80s, like 81, 82, 83, 84, the devotees had, let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
That New York hardcore scene took place on New York's Lower East Side. So it's just in the same place where Prabhupada came. As a matter of fact, Tompkins Square Park, where Srila Prabhupada, that was actually where we hung out. There was a club on the corner called A7, which was the very underground New York hardcore scene, and all the kids hung out in that park or on the edges of that park. That was kind of the center of it all. And so devotees would naturally come there to distribute prasadam, do kirtan. So there was always some blend of the devotees entering into that world. And some of the most influential kids from that scene, it was a very young thing, but some of the most influential kids from that scene were introduced to Krishna consciousness.
Nice.
And so now some years later, Raghunath's band started, I think in maybe 85. maybe 86.
What was the name of the band?
He had a band then called Youth of Today.
Youth of Today.
And that was what they call straight edge. And that was a different message than what was going on in New York. Straight edge meant no drugs.
Straight.
Straight, yeah. New York, that straight edge idea was popular in every city had an underground scene of this. In Washington, D.C. and Boston, the idea of straight edge had caught on, but not in New York City. It was very drug-riddled scene. But Raghunath got that started in New York. And then he was also influenced by some of the earlier bands that were interested in Krishna consciousness.
Nice.
There was a band called the Cro-Mags. You may have heard of them. They were my close friends when I was growing up. And so through that, he got introduced to the ideas of bhakti. Later, he came back and started a band called Shelter. And that was now in the 90s. And that was when he first started to teach bhakti through this music.
Through the song. That was very famous, Shelter.
Yeah, I mean, relatively. But they had a following all around the world. But still, it's kind of underground. But thousands of people were introduced to bhakti through that.
But would you say that because of Srila Prabhupada came to the park under the tree and he left some vibration or some magic?
I would say that for sure, because I don't know how else to explain it. But I'll say this, and this is really important. My friends were really, if people that know them, they know. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that these are very tough street kids that didn't go to school, were into all kinds of trouble nonstop. But somehow through reading Srila Prabhupada's books, they learned. They what Vyasadeva recorded in these ancient texts, they understood it and could explain it through Srila Prabhupada's books. And so I was a young kid that was kind of searching for what's the truth, what's life all about, spiritually and so on. And I was in New York City, so I was exposed to all kinds of different ideas. And they were able to answer my questions better than anyone, give consistent, solid, clear answers that made sense. These kids, these street kids, just by reading Prabhupada's books. So to me, this is one of Prabhupada's great glories, that he could, that a Bengali gentleman, Gaudiya Vaishnava, could share this message in such a way that the whole world could understand. What to speak of these kids. That to me, that's the miracle right there.
Can you tell us a little bit about today's position of that tree? I know that they put some flag or something. Or the people go there and do kirtan, still remembering Srila Prabhupada.
Devotees are in the area. There's a plaque. It's not, honestly...
Not visible?
It's visible, but it's not so impressive.
Okay.
I think someday we really ought to make a campaign to name the park after Srila Prabhupada. And
that would be nice.
Maybe we can do that someday.
Nice. So then after that, whom did you meet that it makes your life shift paradigm?
Yeah.
Because, okay, you got some information, you got some idea about this kids telling you the truth, and you figure out there is something somewhere.
So my friends, I would have many conversations with them, and what they were saying was ringing true with me, and through them I got Srila Prabhupada's books, and I was reading Prabhupada's books for some time, and everything was ringing true. It was like, okay, everything's making sense. Yeah, but I wasn't quite ready to put on the neck beads like my friends had and say this is it. And then one day, I'm walking down the street. It was in the winter, January of 1987. And I bumped into one friend of mine. And he mentioned that there's a Hare Krishna program going on in the apartment of a friend of mine. And so he said, what do you think? You want to go? And I was kind of like, I don't think I want to go. And then he said, well, there'll be good food there. And I said, you're right.
There's always a plus point. Attractive.
So that convinced me. I had been to one or two other programs in a small center in the West Village, the Greenwich Village. So I decided, I kind of had an idea what the programs are like. I said, okay, I'll go. And when I got there, it was in my friend's apartment. On the Lower East Side, and it was a very small apartment. It was very bare, almost no furniture. And it was very clean, more clean than I had ever seen it. And there's a handful of my friends there. So it's maybe like 5, 6, 7 of us. And then walked in Tamal Krishna Goswami.
Wow.
Yeah. And my friends who were bowing down to him, I'd never seen this kind of thing before. I'd never met a Swami or anything like that.
Right.
So he came and he sat down on the floor with us and spent a couple hours with us, speaking,
From the Bhagavad Gita or from any book or in general?
I remember the theme. I don't even know if he opened up a book or not, but I remember the theme had to do with when anything material is engaged spiritually, it becomes spiritual. That's all that I really remember. I would love to see if there's a tape of that somewhere. I don't know if it exists.
There is.
Yeah. And but when I walked out of that apartment, I said, okay, this is it. I knew that now I have to dedicate my life to this. And so within a couple weeks, I was following the 4 principles and chanting 16 rounds and so on. Yeah. Yeah, his words, I often think it was maybe someone else could have said the exact same words, but somehow when he spoke them, they entered into the ear.
And they got into your heart.
They really like you feel it there in the heart, So he really spoke words that went to my heart and changed my life that night. Yeah.
He was a catalyst, we call it.
Yes.
In fiberglass, I'm a mechanic, so
okay.
we mix 2 compounds, but you have to put a few drops of catalyst, which will make it hard. Yeah, so amazing story. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was really a wonderful speaker, very convinced himself, and able to convince many other people. And Srila Prabhupada, whenever he has some doubt or some problem, he will say, call Tamal.
Yeah, that's true.
And he will call him and say, we have to resolve this problem. This is how we do it. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was very intelligent, very charismatic person.
Yes.
And he was one, I would say few people are born leader. He was a born leader, I would say. And then you stay in New York, you continue?
Yeah, so that was January of 87. And then he came and stayed in New York that summer. He lived at the little center that they had on Greenwich Avenue in Manhattan. And I believe at that time he was writing the book that Srila Prabhupada Anjalila, the drama that he wrote about Prabhupada's last days. And so he would speak at that center 3 times a week. And he would speak on Sunday in the temple in Brooklyn. So I was hearing him like 4 times a week. And so that's, I remember in one of those talks he was giving on Greenwich Avenue, he said something like, he was speaking and he said something like, what do we call it when a person doesn't know, when we don't know who we are or something. And I could see he was alluding to because I was reading Prabhupada's books, like Prabhupada say, a madman. And so I raised my hand and I said, a madman. And when he heard that, he focused in on me. And I think from that point, just because he knew I must be reading the books to use that exact word. And I think I became an object of his mercy after that. So I got to know him a bit over that course of that summer. And then in September that year, Gunagrahi Goswami invited me to travel with him.
Nice.
And so that's when I kind of left everything. I just kind of disappeared from New York. I disappeared from my apartment and just left that life behind and became a brahmachari.
How did your family take this?
I was not very close with my family at that point anyway. I was already a wild kid and was on my own. Yeah, all of that. So
the black sheep of the family, they call it.
So
You're one, I was one.
They probably didn't know about it for a long time. Even.
Okay. But eventually you went to see them.
Eventually. It was really when I 13 years later, 13 or 14 years later, when I met my wife, and then I brought my wife to meet them. I think that made it easier for them to appreciate. Yeah, or they worried less. Like, okay, he's married to a beautiful, lovely lady. It's like something here must be okay.
Yeah. He's not anymore rebel. He's not a punk, and now shave up, but he's a priest. Something nice, interesting. So then, what you went in book distribution? I'm sure.
I was a book distributor. That was my primary service. It was my only service. I mean, aside from serving my guru directly, which I would do when I came to India, I distributed books for 13 years. Yeah.
So that is, I also did Sankirtan for 10 years. So all over India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and traveling, driving the
great
bus.
Adventures.
It's great adventure. But amazing thing, I still remember from in a few days, I was a new Bhakti. I went and distributed book, and I was able to speak about Krishna consciousness. And when I'm back to Maharaj, I said, Maharaj, where do I get this knowledge? I don't know anything, I read a few pages of Bhagavad Gita at that time. I said, no, Krishna is in your heart, and Krishna will speak through you. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, this is amazing, But at the same time, it makes you humble because, you meet all kind of people. Yeah. And of course, in India, because we were foreigners, so people are attracted to know where you're from, what you're doing, how you become a sadhu and things like that. But New York or America, I guess, is more tough than India because in India, people are more culture,
the more appreciation is there for it.
Yeah, especially somebody taking their culture and, they're foreigners, so they have kind of appreciation. But in America, to go in this book and think, what are these people shaved up? I don't know if you were wearing robe or saffron.
Sometimes, more often not.
Okay.
Yeah, but still it was...
still was tough,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Not easy, but
good
rewarding.
Good training.
Very rewarding.
Yeah, right.
And after some years, we kind of broke through and found audiences of young people that were into it. And we had a lot of fun, just traveling around and meeting people. And it was great.
You were doing college, university and stuff like that?
Yeah, during the summer, we would travel and follow concert tours.
Oh, yeah.
And then during the rest of the year, a lot of times we would do college campuses or the streets near the college, or even door to door in the housing areas where the college students lived. Things like that we do.
Nice. Young people, so they're more open to receive some kind of...
Yeah.
Okay, tell us more about your, when you start this Wisdom of the Sages. Because this was, I don't know, not many years ago, of course.
No, that was only 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, Raghunath, I had years of book distribution, and he had years of being in the band Shelter. So we were both presenting our bhakti teachings in challenging circumstances every day. So you get to learn how to deal with people and how to express it and all the questions and that people bring up. And then we both started to get into yoga, him a little bit before me and myself afterward, and kind of going out into that world and teaching it in that world. So from the years, I don't know, maybe 2004, 2005, he and I were kind of like in touch a lot in terms of yoga. And we would also take groups to India and serve together that way. But what happened with Wisdom of the Sages was it wasn't like we really came up with a plan. What it was I started reading Bhagavatam every day with my wife. And we were just really getting into it. I was kind of like, you know how Vaisheshika Prabhu, you get into it, and he said something like, well, if you read 80 verses a day, you read it in 6 months, So my wife and I just started reading 80 verses of Bhagavatam every day together. And I was feeling so enlivened by it. She was feeling so enlivened that I just was telling everybody I knew, hey, it's like, this is it. You read Bhagavatam. We have them sitting there on the shelf and nothing happens. But as soon as you start to read them, it starts to change your life. And so at that time, Raghunath came to me and said, I have a handful of people, like 4 or 5 people that wanted to study with him every day. And he said they wanted to study on Zoom, which was before anyone was using Zoom. It was before...
It was the beginning.
Yeah, this was 2019. And I said, he was asking me, what do you think I ought to do? What should I study? I said, why don't you read Bhagavatam every day? just do it. I'm telling you. So he started doing that, and he had just a handful of people, and they would wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and get on Zoom. And he would sometimes take a telephone and point it at him and broadcast it live on Instagram. Oh. So a few more people started joining daily.
It was not called Wisdom of the Sage at the time.
It was called Super Soul Sacred Sangha.
Super Soul Sacred.
That's right. And so...
I used to call you sometime.
Well, what happened was... So that was about March 2019 that started. And over the coming months, it started to grow a little bit because he was broadcasting it live on Instagram. So some more people come on Zoom. It was 10 people, 15, 20 people. By the summer that year, he used to invite me on occasion, and we would just kind of spontaneously go through it. No plan or anything like that. And people liked the chemistry.
Of course. He's very bubbly, and you are very soft and
it's like a classic formula.
Yeah.
Where you have you don't know, but in America there's many comedy duos like Abbott and Costello. You ever hear Abbott and Costello? Yes. Abbott and Costello. Or and there's a lot of different ones. You have the straight guy and the kind of the wild guy. Yeah. So it was like that naturally. And by September that year, I was on every day. And it was increasing more and more. It was getting up to like 85 people were tuning in every day. 5 a.m. So we were like, at that point we said, we should turn this into a podcast and do it real. People are interested. People keep coming back.
Right.
So why not go ahead and brand it and put it out on the podcast platforms, which we hadn't done before. So that was January 2000, January 1st I'm sorry, not 2000, 2020, that we launched it as Wisdom of the Sages. And we're doing it every day. And about a month later, we got a big break because Raghunath's got an invitation to appear on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I saw it.
Yeah. So if that invitation would have come a month or two earlier, there would have been really nowhere to send anyone. Yeah. But just when we got our act together, then he got that invitation. And that interview that Raghunath did on Joe Rogan is, as far as I can see, is the biggest platform that anyone has ever presented Bhagavad Gita, or these teachings on. There's millions of people in one event heard him speak on that. And we got thousands and thousands of listeners right from the beginning. And these are people that hadn't necessarily known anything about bhakti or Krishna consciousness or even yoga. It's just people that were interested in applying some ancient wisdom in their life, going through challenges in life, and looking for some kind of profound answers. And we got that kind of audience. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was very, very beautiful. It was very nice, interesting.
Yeah. To this day, lots of those people that came just from that original Joe Rogan are still with us.
We should ask Joe Rogan to do it again. With you this time.
That would be nice. There have been some
He's a nice guy. He's a nice person.
Yeah. He was actually a friend of Raghunath's from before. But he dealt with the topic very respectfully and even chanted at the end. I think at the very last thing he said was Hare Krishna.
That's good. So what's the future of this podcast? I know you want to you're bringing people to India, you're doing retreat, which was very successful. People get a taste of the Holy Dharma and seeing many different things in different culture. Yeah. But I'm sure in the future you will grow more, and you will want to have a base here in Mayapur. I heard.
Yeah, I would love to have a little ashram here that we could bring people to for extended time, because we have had a lot of success, if you want to call it. But we've been able to bring people to India, and it is life changing. But there's also something to staying for a longer period of time, which if we had our own place, we could offer that at a really, people could just come and give whatever they want. Whereas like normally we're renting out of another building and the prices are higher, and you can't do it for too long. So that is something we'd like to do. But, I think we need to create, it's an interesting time. I think with COVID, it kind of cracked like a shell of how we present bhakti to people.
Absolutely.
Right? It kind of, people began to take the internet seriously as a way to communicate and practice bhakti. You see, this is the thing about Wisdom of the Sages, is it's not just a class, it's sadhana. Because people, it's hearing Bhagavatam every day, that's Shravana. And because it's every day, that's made the difference in people's lives.
Nityam Bhagavata Seva.
Nityam Bhagavata Seva.
You do it every day, you purify your heart.
Yeah. If it was once a week,
you can go up and down into the modes.
Exactly. You get lost.
You get lost again.
Yeah. But when people are tuning in every day, it makes all the difference. So that was a big thing that we learned. Now, that created a large audience, thousands of people. We averaged something like around 10,000 downloads per day. And these are all kinds of people. Now, we need to build a network in order to serve these people and support these people.
Yes.
And I think the work that we do with that can devotees, all kinds of devotees can benefit from that work.
Absolutely.
Like the first thing that we created was something called Sage Groups, which is an opportunity for people to join a small group, like 7 or 8 people. There's one kind of more experienced devotee that kind of helps, not so much a teacher, but helping lead the conversation.
It become more personal.
That's the point. They make friends. Yes. They have an opportunity to open up. You know, because even if you live in a city with a temple, you could go to that temple. I mean,
sometime, yeah, you don't get proper.
You might go there for 10, 15 years and never feel like you have the opportunity to open up, share what you're going through, ask the questions that you need to ask.
Yeah.
And those little groups are best places to do that. And so we got that going. There's a few hundred people in those groups, and that's really, people have been really appreciating that. It makes a big difference in people's lives. But we want to create an online academy where they could study everything they need to learn. You know, whether it's not just philosophy, but that as well, but all aspects of the culture.
Offering food.
How to offer food, how to cook food. You know, what is Vaishnava etiquette? Everything that we learn in a temple, they need to learn.
Right.
And so we want to build that academy, make it kind of like an inexpensive subscription-based kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We also need to develop a team that's kind of like, I think, drawing from, like, say, those sage groups, seeing what are the most pressing issues for people that are challenging to them. Because basically people practice bhakti until they run into some obstacle and then they stop, you know? And so what are the obstacles? Are they philosophical? Are they cultural? Or do they have, or maybe they're psychological? Maybe they're practical. What are the challenges that are in your life that are creating hurdles for you, that are making it difficult for you to practice? And then have that team respond to that through creating the resources that people need. So let's say it's practical. Like, let's say it's like, you know, I have 3 kids. I don't have any time. I don't think I have time in the day to practice this. And apparently you have to chant 16 rounds, and I'm never going to be able to do that. And so I give up. So they need someone to kind of walk them through and say, hey, you know, step by step, maybe you can't chant 16 rounds. That's okay.
Chant 1 round.
Yeah, maybe you chant 1 round. And you have to learn to see you're raising your children in the context of your bhakti practice. And so maybe, excuse me, maybe they need like a course or a video, or maybe there needs to be a group, you know, and it could be all kind of things. Like, let's say there are women that are like victims of sexual abuse, and they're wondering, you know, like, is it because of my karma, or I don't have a peaceful mind because of this and I struggle? And maybe they need their own group that meets once a month where they can open up and talk about these things. Or, you know, maybe it's a psychological thing, like someone may struggle with depression.
It's very personal. Each one is his own.
Yes.
You know, we have been trained in the temple because we had association. We had a brahmachari.
Yeah.
Sometimes they give you a slap. Say, hey, just turn your page, move on. Don't worry, go on.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes somebody sit down with you and explain to you certain things, certain parameters, certain techniques, which can make you go overcome this thing.
Yeah. So we want to provide like an entire network of support. We need to build all these things.
Yes.
And so I would say the first things that we have going are one is those sage groups, and two is the Bhakti recovery group.
Yeah, the 12-step recovery
The 12-step
group.
recovery group, which is for
I
people
think
that
this is fantastic.
it's helping a lot of people. And that was an old friend of mine, Jiva. She and I were friends when we were kids, also from that hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't, we were friends when we were kids. And then I became a devotee, and she went down. Her path was a rough path that had a lot to do with addiction.
And stuff.
And mine was as a brahmachari and then as a grihasta. And then we got back together 30 years later, and she was developing an interest in Krishna consciousness. And so she took off with that idea of the Bhakti recovery group, and it's really helping a lot of people, helping people discuss a lot of things that they otherwise would have a hard time.
Yeah.
So those things are in place, but we need to build it more. And I think if we can build these support systems, that they won't just be for our listeners, but they'll be models that hopefully other devotees could benefit from.
Yeah. Because you need some basic training to do this 12-step recovery group, because certain people don't know anything about drug. If you ask some brahmachari from Bengal, I don't know what to answer.
You need someone right in
You
there.
need somebody who knows, who can train.
You need people that when they enter that group, they know what they're struggling with.
What they're struggling with. It can be all kind of different. You have the other Mataji, who is a psychiatrist, a psychologist. She's the wife of one of the Mayapuris.
Oh, she comes on our show. That Danya.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
That's the kind of person that I think could play a role on one of these teams. That, and we've talked to her about that too, to provide support.
Yeah, because she can train other people who are in a similar type of training or mind to help other people. Because this will be fantastic. Because everybody can participate in this. There is no bar of age, or group, or color, or ethnicity, or language. It will explode into really fine-tuning the people into the heart, and connect them with the Lord. It's amazing. Good job.
We're just getting started, so thank you. When devotees like yourself, senior devotees appreciate it, it gives us a lot of energy.
No, I think there is a lot of devotees who appreciate this that you don't know, because they're just watching. We are the others.
Okay.
So you don't see us on Zoom, but we are listening every day. I introduce many other people, and they're listening, and they're really, everybody's fired up, and everybody think this is the desire of the Acharya, that we are introducing this Krishna consciousness to all type of people.
Yes.
It's easy for somebody in India to become a devotee, let's say, because, you scratch a little bit, Prabhupada say, in the Indian heart, there is some bhakti because of the culture or everything. Although the new kids now, they are not anymore like before, because there's new kids born in rich family, they sent to abroad and study.
There's a lot of Western influence.
Yeah, there's a lot of Western influence and a lot of Western culture. By default, they become like the Westerners. But still, we can preach them, bring them back, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm amongst the young people
in India now. There's a lot of enthusiasm. We have a lot of work to do.
Sure do.
We have a lot of work to do. It's a lifetime in preparation. We did our job, and I'm sure that when we will leave this planet, Krishna will say, and this guy did something. Okay, so tell us more about your personal life.
Personal life? What would you like to know?
No, how you you are maybe not going every day to the temple, because you're not living very close.
Yeah, I live, people that know Manhattan in New York, I live on the Upper West Side.
Okay.
So the center that I'm most connected with is the Bhakti Center.
Oh yeah,
which I was kind of involved in since its beginning.
Nice.
And so I'll probably pop in there about once or twice a week.
Nice. Nice.
But
let's say how you maintain your sadhana. What time you wake up in the morning?
I wake up very
because
early.
We want to tell this that everybody can practice in their house wherever they are. It's not just because we are in a temple.
Yeah.
Close to it.
My daily schedule is a little unusual. I wake up very early, so it can sometimes as early as 2:30 or 3:30. Usually 3:30 at latest, something like that. And then those early morning hours, I use them a lot for study and preparation for the podcast, which we used to do at 5 a.m. Now, a lot of times we do it at 6 a.m., something like that. So those hours are nice to chant.
Because your brain is clean and Brahma Muhurta is called. It's very sattvic.
Yeah, I also may use that time for writing. And
you're writing a book?
I'm working on something. Yeah. And so...
you don't want to disclose what you're writing?
Soon, that'll come out soon.
Lost Story? With Krishna?
So then, let's say I do the podcast at 6. Sometimes I have to set up for it a little bit before then, and then do the podcast. Then I have to, when the podcast is done, I have to do the kind of the write-up for it, and make the thumbnail and that kind of thing and send that off. So maybe it's by 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm kind of done. So now I've been up since like say 3:30. It's 8:30 now. I've been
time
up
for breakfast.
Yeah, time for a little breakfast. Maybe take a little nap after that or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the morning I might use to get things done. I'll probably start to chant more at that point.
Okay.
And do the kind of, correspondence or phone calls or follow up with all the kind of other services that I might be involved with.
Plus you have deed in your house, but your wife is taking care of that.
My wife does most of that seva.
Beautiful.
On Ekadashis, I also take part. And then in the afternoon, that may be time for study as well. It may be, sometimes I like to just go out and go to the park, maybe read out there, or in New York, I'm fortunate because the devotees are out on Harinam every day. Sometimes I'd like to go out and join the devotees on Harinam.
Nice.
If it's summertime, I might go out to the beach. I'd like to get out there a few times a week just for the health and all that of it.
The sun is important.
Yeah, and the water is good. And then a light meal in the evening and
go to sleep early.
Try to go to sleep early. So it's something like that.
7:38.
I'm winding down at that time. Yeah, maybe like 8:39.
Okay, like that. That's good. Nice. So you maintain a good sadhana. That's very important.
It's unusual because a lot of my chanting I do later in the day because I need that time for study, especially in the morning. So whether it's good sadhana, I'm working on it.
Everybody's tailoring his own sadhana according to what their priority is.
I feel, like I just turned 58 years old, and I feel like I need to begin to chant the holy name more purely. That's weighing on me. So that's going to become a more serious priority in my life as we go forward. But then hopefully we can call it good sadhana.
A similar program to yours. Only I wake up in the morning and start chanting my round first thing first. And I get some solid amount of round and I study a little bit. And also I do different services and things. But yeah, I feel like my priority is both studying, but more important, I feel like chanting. Because if the quality of my rounds are good, then all day I'm totally blissful and I'm able to take on any service or anything which comes in my way. I'm able to interact in a positive way.
When I'm up early and chanting early, and the whole city's asleep.
Yeah.
And I'm alone there with my deities in my house, which is like a little temple in my apartment.
Yeah.
And it's really special time.
Absolutely.
It's really special time. We get habituated. You see,
I would say we're getting addicted. I cannot stop chanting. The other day I went to the barber. I took my phone. I put Radio Mayapur. I said, "Why I'm not listening to some bhajan? Put Radio Mayapur. Listen to some bhajan or something." I'm getting addicted.
That's a good addiction. but I think the years that I spent as a brahmachari, it's not like I've been getting up this early ever since then. As a brahmachari, I did. And then I went through years where I was getting up, it's still early, relatively early, but not so early. But something as I was getting older just kind of clicked in my body that I just started waking up very early again. Like that brahmachari training just kind of awakened in me. And I know that for most people who haven't had that experience, getting up so early sounds, even getting up at 4, 4:30, even 5, it sounds like it's way too early. But there's something there. If we lose, a lot of times people say, I just don't have time for all this. Mostly we waste a lot of time. And if we can cancel that next Netflix subscription
Netflix and all this,
and go to sleep early, we can wake up, and that time that we have there
is gold.
Oh, it's golden. Yeah. It's like, and we only have so many days left. Yeah, right. And these hours become very important. And if you get some really quality time in the early morning hours every day, that makes all the difference. And without that, it's going to be hard to go deeper. It's going to be hard to take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta grab that time and not let it go.
I think that is the connection we have with the Lord through this chanting, because in this Kali Yugas, the only thing is the chanting of the holy name,
Yes.
Hare Nam. So, but this is very personal relationship with the Lord. So once we chant with, I don't say love, but with attention, I think Krishna recognizes that we are there, and it makes so many things happen into our life which are special, which are, you could say, oh, this is just happening, but it's not,
Yes.
that Krishna, you can feel his hand behind, he's guiding you and make you understand it.
Yeah, there's these 3 different levels of chanting.
Yes.
There's that inattentive or, offensive chanting, aparat. And then there's that namabas, that clearing stage where there's attentive chanting going on. It's not the Shuddhanam yet, where the tears are coming and the voice is choking up. But I really, as the days of my life are ticking away, I can say, I cannot stay stuck on this inattentive chanting. I can't. There's just not, it's got to change. I got to at least get into that, attentive chanting. And then eventually that chanting is very powerful. And so, I think as devotees, we gotta push ourselves. We gotta find the ways to find that. We gotta inspire one another.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
sadhusanga.
So otherwise it's too easy to stay stuck.
Yeah. No, we should not get stuck, because, as you know, the water flow in the river, and where it gets stuck,
it's not so nice.
It's not so nice.
Yeah.
So, any future plan you have now, apart from this, program you're doing, and there is anything which you would like to share with our audience about, apart from the preaching and the book you're writing and your sadhana, and anything you like to tell us?
Future plans?
Yeah.
In some ways, I have to kind of just see what Krishna indicates and what the Vaishnavas indicate. Like I say, for instance, there was a time in my life where the Bhakti Center was I pictured myself just like that would be, I'm going to die just serving directly this center. And then, things just kind of changed a little bit and my service shifted. And now it's like the primary service I do is the podcast.
Yes.
And who knows, like it may be a few years down the road, we're saying the podcast was just jumped into something else. It was something that led to something else. So like I said, we didn't plan to do that podcast, and I don't know what Krishna holds in the future. All I know is that if the more detached I become from all my anarthas and everything that holds me back, and the more I'm open to Krishna's, to the grace of Krishna and the grace of the devotees, then Krishna can lead our lives in all kinds of exciting ways that we can't even anticipate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in other words, we become a puppet in the hand of Krishna. Krishna, let me dance the way you want. You make me dance. Like Srila Prabhupada wrote a poem. He said, I went to New York. I don't know why you brought me here, but I'm a puppet in your hand. If you want me to dance, let me dance.
I think the average person here says, I don't want to be anyone's puppet, but we are the puppets of the material energy.
Absolutely.
And we're hanging on to that. If we just could learn to let go, it's all these petty little things in our lives that we hold on to that have no importance and no value, but we're thinking they're important. So I'm just trying to let go. And I would love to be that puppet in the hands.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I'm sure with the Vaishnava's blessing and association of the Holy Dham, things would become more and more manifested. And Raghunath is such a wonderful devotee. He's blessed here, surrounded by so many other wonderful devotees. So Okay, I want to ask you an interesting question because one time I wrote Wisdom of the Sage, and then one guy come and say, "Oh, these guys are fake and this that." I don't know. I said, "What? What is this? Is this? It could be a publicity stunt." I said because when somebody come and say this, these people will indoctrinate you. I don't know. You saw this?
Oh, some video?
Yeah, one video
I saw
on
one
YouTube.
video. Yeah, I saw
one
it.
fat guy and say, "I was a deprogrammer. Be careful. This wisdom of the sages. They are Hare Krishna." You know, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want to say about this.
Oh,
Is it made up stuff or is real? This guy is real.
I just think he didn't understand who we are and what we do. It's like we're not trying to hide what we do. It seemed like his video. He was saying, "These guys are trying to trick you" or something. We're pretty wide open about what we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just practicing Krishna consciousness and trying to make it. Try to do it in a way that's, I suppose what happened with Wisdom of the Sage is that maybe different is that it was just done, the format was like entertaining, and so.
It is entertaining.
Yeah. So it just made it easy for people to listen to, but it's not like we were or are trying to hide anything.
No.
I think maybe this person had some kind of, like he's kind of living in the past where like a devotee has to wear certain clothes. This is just us. That's the way we dress. And, like I'm here in Mayapur right now. I'm in Mayapur. I usually dress like this.
You in New York,
back
you wear
in New
pants
York,
and shirt.
yeah,
no
that's
problem.
how I dress.
What's the problem?
And so we're kind of like, if anything, we're too much just being ourselves. Yeah. So things like that don't. But that being said, honestly, I'm shocked that there's not more criticism. There's so little criticism of what we do. I'm always expecting like people are going to start, like really getting on us. These guys are this, these guys are that. We almost very little of that kind of negative stuff do we get. I'm surprised actually. So Krishna's been soft on us.
Merciful.
People.
No, I was thinking because if there is something negative, Mussolini used to say, "Oh, if you have a lot of enemy, it means you're very good." So like that.
Well, there's certainly truth that that the only way to avoid criticism is to do nothing because anyone. And here's one thing I feel strongly about is the broader community of devotees.
Oh.
That we spend way too much time presenting our ideas and criticizing other people and what they're doing. I
don't see any criticism anytime. I don't know why.
You don't? I'm sorry?
I don't see that you are criticizing.
No.
In the podcast.
In the podcast that's like we just don't go there.
Right?
My point is that as a community of devotees, I think we spend too much time talking about, we should be doing that, or we shouldn't be doing this, or these people are doing that, but they should be doing it my way. I see it this way. There's going to be people that see things differently.
Always.
Just go out and do it. Yeah. Just appreciate, even if you don't agree with how they're presenting things, appreciate that they're trying. And if you're convinced that my way is the right way and my way is the way that's blessed by the acharyas, then do it and show it. Don't talk about it. Yeah. Do it. And then let's see what, and maybe they're both good ideas, or maybe one isn't such a great idea, and that'll be shown because this other one will manifest, will flourish. So just let people do what they want to do, and all the time that's wasted, talking about.
No, I don't see many people as long as the devotees. I don't see many people criticize your group and our Wisdom of the Sages. But you say in general.
I'm surprised that we don't get criticized more. Yeah, and but I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
That
of course,
everybody has their theories about.
Of course. On anything.
On anything,
you can go and buy tomatoes. Oh, why do you buy this tomato? You could buy the red one. How much did you pay? They cheat you. That. Always somebody.
That's the nature of this world that we just
next time
waste
you go
time.
And buy.
Yeah, that's the nature of this world that we waste time doing that. And as Vaishnavas, we don't need to.
Nah. I was saying last time, you can be like a honeybee or you can be like a fly. So it's your choice. You can see the good things in everybody, or you can just be a fly and find fault.
I found one nice quote from Prabhupada. I wish I could remember exactly how he said it, but he said, if I criticize you and you criticize me, then we end up very far from Krishna. Very far from Krishna. No time for that.
So tell me one of your most favorite slogan from the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, Bhagavad Gita?
Or Bhagavatam, whatever, Chaitanya Charitamrita, any scriptures, anything which is you feel in your heart. I know that Prabhu, you were saying, what's his name? Carrying his pocket. It's tall, blue eyes. You were just saying his name. Vaisheshika
Prabhu.
Yeah, he's a demigod. Whenever I see him, I say, hey, you're a demigod. I'm a semi-dog. Because he looks so handsome and effulgent, and he carries always a message. I know that all of us, we have some attraction for some slogan, which we remember, which will, in any situation, take us.
He's like a walking Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita, yeah, he knows my heart.
Yeah, he's special. Sometimes lately I've been thinking a lot about the shloka. I just need the first word though. Much chita sarvadurgani. What is it? Much chita sarvadurgani, mat prasada tarisyasi. That if you simply become conscious of me, right, then by my grace you will cross over all the obstacles.
That means we have to learn to see Krishna everywhere and everything and everybody, because Krishna is there everywhere.
Prabhu, this is a lot of the way that a lot of where my concentration goes now in my life, is to try to feel God in my heart at all the times and see God in the heart of every living being, or as you're saying, to see God everywhere. That's another shloka that, one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, to them I am never lost, and nor are they ever lost to me. These kind of verses, or, when I'm in front of Lord Nrsingadev here, Ito Nrsingha Parato Nrsinho Yato Yamitato. Bahir Nrsinho, Tridaye Nrsinho.
You're outside.
You're outside, you're inside. Everywhere. That's something that I want to understand, that not just theoretically, but I want to understand that. I want to really feel that and see that. And so a lot of my prayer is in this area.
Practice makes man perfect. So as we train ourselves with our eyes and our intelligence and link everything, because there is nothing but Krishna.
I was just reading, just before I came here, I was reading Prabhupada. I'm not sure if it was Prabhupada or it may have been from the 11th canto, so it may have been other commentators.
Yeah.
But it was a brilliant verse. I wish I could remember exactly what verse it was, but it was talking about seeing Krishna in everything. And the commentary was saying how, just like there's certain people that see how to make money everywhere. Wherever they look, they see. If you bring them out to the forest, they're thinking, if we cut down these trees, we could sell them and make paper out of them. And there's some people that are like, some men that are seeing like women everywhere, right? Like wherever they go, they're looking for women.
Especially Italian.
Okay. And he said, in the similar way, we need to be seeing Krishna everywhere. That everything that I'm seeing it as Krishna's energy. I'm not seeing anything disconnected. This is the vision I pray for. I really want that. And I think we have to beg for it, and we have to, as you're saying, like train our mind to see it everywhere. Yes. Reflect as we go through life, to see what we know is there. And the more that we remind ourselves, reflecting on what we've heard, the more that we begin to see it that way.
Sometimes, I feel like it's easy to see Krishna everywhere when things are going nice. But sometimes when we go through some obstacles, then we start to think, why is Krishna giving me this trouble? Why this person is doing this? Why I had an accident? What if I turn left instead of right? What if I start 5 minutes before? So many things. But we have to learn to see Krishna that also.
That verse that I quoted, that much chita sarvadurgani. So much chita, if you become conscious of me, then sarvadurgani, all these difficulties, mat prasada tarisyasi, you'll cross over them. He doesn't say that you won't encounter them.
You will encounter them, yeah.
But they actually become where the real growth takes place.
It reminds me of one of the acharyas who said that whenever I think of sex life, my lip curls in disgust and spit on the thought.
Yeah.
That was Jamunacharya.
Jamunacharya, yeah.
So it's not that, okay, you see a beautiful woman, you start to see the soul, maybe, yes, if you're trained. But yeah, otherwise you could be tempted anytime. He was inside the heart speaking himself.
Yeah, I think he was feeling disgust at his own attachments and spitting at that, right? Not spitting at the thought of the woman herself, but spitting at like
on the thought in his mind. Why is this coming to me?
Do you know that story about Yamunacharya and that one sadhu wanted to go visit him because he saw that he was kind of getting lost in the kingly life? And
Tell us.
I don't remember the name of the person, but Yamunacharya, because he came from a very devotional background, but then he became king, and then as a king, he was losing touch with it because there's so much opulence.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you got wealth and power and fame and beautiful wives and all this, and you get lost. And so this sadhu, he couldn't reach him because he's a king, he's a big king. So what he did was he would get some very special...
It's called Brahmi Shak,
Oh,
which is available here, which is very good for brain. It's very small leaves. Actually, his guru sent one of the brahmacharis and said, you have to go and retrieve this. My disciple is lost in this kingdom. Yeah. So when the brahmachari goes through the gate and the guard stops him, hey, where are you going? Oh, I want to speak to the king. He's my friend. Yeah, right. Get lost. So he went every day and gave this shak, Brahmi shak, to the cook. Yeah. And the cook cooked it. And he said, the king will give me every day. So for 1 month, he gave him the shak every day. I'm sorry, I'm taking over your description because I start to remember. Yeah. But then one day it didn't come.
He stopped it.
I stopped it. 2 days it didn't come. And then the king called the cook and said, hey, where is my shak? So, I don't know, the guy who bring it every day, he didn't come. What is it? Did you pay him? No, I didn't pay him. I said, why? He's a brahmachari. He said that you like it. He said, okay, when he comes next time, bring him to me.
That's right.
And so he went there and he brought him. And that time he said, well, actually our guru sent us. You remember we were brahmachari in Ashram Gurukul. And he sent a treasure. He said, there's a treasure for you to go and pick it up. He said, no problem. I'll call my minister. He said, no. You have to come alone, me and you. We have to go alone. We have to go and retrieve this. That's the only way. He said, okay. So he left his son in charge of the kingdom and everything. And they start to walk in the forest. And the guru started to read the Bhagavad Gita. And the king started to again remember his spiritual. And finally, they reached Sri Rangam and said, this is the treasure. And there is Raghunath Swami laid down, beautiful is the Lord. Yeah, the guru wanted you to take care of this temple. And then he remained there. He never went back to the kingdom.
So that was the beginning of a revival of his devotion.
Of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Amazing story.
And so I think after that, then he goes and he looks back at his life and he says, oh, look, I was trying to exploit Krishna's energy. I saw it as separate from him, as if it belongs to me.
No, it's not.
And then feeling a deep sense of remorse for that. That's that bitter taste. There's something very sweet about it because it's an awakening, right?
Yeah. Wonderful story. Kaustubha Prabhu is, I'm sure we can go on forever here, but we come to, I think, conclusion on our time. Would you like to give a message to all our audience today?
Well, your audience is especially the devotees.
All over the world, devotees are listening to the radio, devotee, non-devotee. Most people are devotee, yes.
I think that we should have faith. Okay. That Krishna works in all kinds of wonderful and beautiful ways. And if we look at nature, we see sometimes you plant a seed and it grows very quickly. Something comes out of the ground. And some things you plant and the seed is underneath the ground and it's building its whole platform before it even begins. And it takes a long time, but then it comes up and it grows very strong. We don't know in our own life. We may think, I've been trying for so long and still I haven't developed pure prema. I don't think it'll ever come. Or we look at our efforts in the world to bring Krishna consciousness to people and we say, oh, we're failing, we're not reaching people, it'll never happen. How could we ever change the world? I think we should have complete faith that in this life, by the grace of Krishna, if we decide I want to give this life to the Lord, that by the blessings of the Vaishnavas and Krishna, we can get Krishna prema in this life, and that we should never doubt We should never doubt that bhakti can and will change the entire world. I'm convinced that it will.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's going to look exactly like we all think it might look like. I think it might manifest in all kinds of ways we never dreamt. It may come from people that we didn't expect it to come from. It may spread in ways that we never thought that it would spread. But I have complete faith that the wisdom in the bhakti culture, the beauty in the bhakti culture, the beautiful theology and the beautiful conceptions in the bhakti culture are destined to catch fire in the hearts of people all over the world. And so have faith. That's my message.
Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure being with you
It's a
today.
pleasure to be with you.
It's enlightening and inspirational, I should say. So I hope next time you come to Mayapur, we'll have more podcasts and we'll have time to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
chant the Maha Mantra for all the audience. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
You're listening to Radio Mayapur with the best devotional, meditation, kirtan music, and inspirational podcast. This is Radio Mayapur.